Hi, welcome to Literally with Dan Minahan. And we are here today to talk about his new film on swift horses based on the book On Swift Horses. Do you want to hold up the book?
Yes, written by author Shannon Pufahl.
Now, when did you first encounter this book and when did you start the process or it occurred to you that, gosh, I'd like to
I
a big
I
chunk of my
read
life on this?
book. Yeah, I first read this book during lockdown. So my agent sent it to me, and he knows that I hate everything. And he said, "I think you'll actually like this one." Almost like a challenge. And he was right. I loved it. About two-thirds of the way through it, I called my producer Peter Spears, and we'd been looking for something to do together. And I said, I think I found it. And he's like, I'm reading that book too. So they had also sent it to him. And we just finished it. We were in love with it and we went after it.
And you shot in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, it was very unusual. We shot it in Los Angeles, because we felt like we, I know,
Congratulations. I know that's
before
rare.
the new tax incentives that the governor has promised now. So um, it was a great luxury to shoot there. It I think California, it's a Western, so California is really a part of it. It's an important part of it because these people go there to restart their lives. You know,
Yeah.
he's been living in Kansas. They're coming back from the Korean War, and it's sort of like a reimagining of the American dream. But so it was important that it was California, and we shot it in California.
Yeah, so being in California is still the caution, having to have the warnings, but at the same time there's a relaxedness and
The possibility, like they go there because you can get land for cheap. There's like a GI Bill that, we don't really detail it that much, but, they get to buy a house, with a little bit, servicemen get a discount. So there's a kind of the sense of possibility. And then with these characters, Muriel and Julius, like every new person that comes into their lives offers another kind of possibility. There's this kind of sexy romantic quality. These are like young people who are impulsive and like following their hearts. So there's a bit of I don't know. I think the thing that appealed to me is that it's very hopeful. Even though Muriel and Julius are kind of hiding themselves, she's like invisible working at that the Heyday Lounge. And he's kind of invisible, literally like hiding in the rafters of the casino, working security, and like, and then they're kind of finding these like-minded people that they're eventually going to fall in love with.
and it's interesting that the people that bring them out of their invisibility are would be marginalized people
Yeah.
who struggle Diego says, I have to fight for everything.
Yeah, if I
And
see something, I want to take it. I have to take it. If I want something, I have to take it.
I have to take it. Yeah, not struggle.
Yeah.
I have to go, yeah, I have to take it. Right. And that yeah, because there has been a privilege in uh Muriel's and Julius's life where it hasn't been a perfect life and it hasn't been easy, but there's this kind of playing behind the beat where uh it's not that way with these other two characters who are also marginalized.
Yeah. They're all orphans. You
Yeah.
know, Muriel is an orphan. Lee, the brothers, Lee and Julius are orphans, and Henry's an orphan. And Sandra talks about her father dying and leaving her the house. She
Mhm.
cared for her father as when he died. So they're all orphans, which is very much like a trope in storytelling where Bambi's mother dies, and then Bambi has to learn how to be Bambi. and be, and be himself. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what the characters talk about is, you know, what you're willing to risk to be or to get what you want.
Right.
I mean, there's different ways that people are pursuing the American dream in this story. Lee is doing it. He works in some kind of a factory, and we see him plugging away at things. Muriel's working in a lounge, and then secretly trying to, ascend through gambling. And Julius is a card sharp, and he's going to get, you know, he's going to get there, but by playing in Vegas and gambling and cheating. And Sandra's the one who's a little bit like she's kind of like she's got it down. Like she's very self-possessed. She knows who she is, and she lives without a man, which I think is really fascinating to Muriel. It's sort of like where Muriel ends up. She ends up on her own, kind of restarting her life. She starts all over again.
But there's also the threat of Sandra losing her house.
Yeah,
And I really wanted, after Sandra went down on Muriel, for her to kiss her.
she did. They kiss at the end. She kisses before she leaves, and then Muriel kind of stumbles away, like,
Well,
uh,
no, after she went down on her, like exactly after she went down on her, I wanted them to kiss, like where she still got pussy.
oh, well, I think they do, but I hadn't thought of that. I mean, I guess we were so cold that night when we shot it.
I was
Every
like,
take, I had this giant down coat, and they were just pretending that it was a like a balmy summer night. And after every take of that scene, where we had to remove their breath, you could see their breath um, in every shot. They would come and they would huddle inside of my coat and be like, okay, and then they would reset the cameras and they go, okay, you ready? Yeah, okay, let's go. And they would run back out, and then we would do another take. But
that
yeah.
I think is one of the hardest things of act. I remember there were so many shoots on Deadwood where it was freezing. Like when were you there when doing the carnival, the big the big like where everyone does their act?
Oh yeah, no, that at the theater, the big yeah.
Right. And it was,
No, I wasn't there that night, but I shot lots of freezing nights in the mountains in Santa Clarita, that's for sure.
oh my God, it was just like unbelievable.
I don't know how they do it. I don't do well in the cold.
Yeah, yeah, or too hot or whatever.
The other night that was so extremely cold is when the boys go to the out into the desert to watch the nuclear test, and they have that big party. It was like unimaginably cold. It's the desert at night. It gets really cold.
So what did you guys do? You just have the heaters that come on when you,
They had like those heaters, and they had warming coats, and yeah, I mean it was also an extremely cold winter in Los Angeles, and we were shooting the scene where Julius comes back with he meets them at their, he goes to their house, he drives up in the truck, and he's pulling a horse trailer that he probably won in a card game, and he gets out of the truck, and they're, you know reunited, and suddenly it started snowing, like hailing and snowing, and we had to stop, and everyone like Daisy Edgar-Jones was wearing Bermudas and a little short sleeve shirt, and we all ran inside, and we had to shoot something else and come back to that scene the next day. But the thing that we did do was we took advantage of the snow, and they said, there's a farm up the road, and let's bring one of the vintage cars up there and shoot the opening of the film, which was going to be all visual effects of him hitchhiking in Kansas. And so
oh,
we shot that in real snow,
wow.
like
Wow.
very unusual. I don't know. I don't ever remember it snowing in Los Angeles I mean, I've been going there for years.
Yeah, no, torrential rain. I remember that, but yeah.
Yeah.